Gang, we are back at it. We got another card to break down. UFC Serbia. We have been getting so close to a perfect card. 2 weekends in a row, we went 4 out of 5. We just missed one. Last weekend, we missed on that Steve Urseg. The weekend before, we missed on Jared Cannonier. We're getting so close, but this weekend, it looks pretty easy. I don't see how we're going to miss here. In this video, I'm going to go through all 5 fights on the main event. Let me know what you think your lock of the card is, and let's get into it. We're just going to start at the top. The main and the co-main this weekend are actually insane. Looking at the main event here, we got Medić at number 14 coming in against the long-awaited return of Daniel Rodriguez. For me, this is a weird main event, and even more so, it's a weird matchup because I look at Euros, even though he's on a limited time, he's 33 years old, he really can't afford a backward step at this point. I still look at him like kind of a contender, and fighting Daniel Rodriguez right here doesn't do too much for his career. The biggest story coming into this fight is what's the ceiling for Medić? He's 33 years old, he really can't afford another misstep at this point in his career, and I don't know if Daniel Rodriguez is going to be a big enough win to progress his career where it should be going. I've been super high on Euro since his Dana White Contender Series fight. Even his debut, he looked like a savage. First round TKO. He had that loss with Jalen Turner, and since then, he didn't really look the same. At least for a little bit. After that loss to Jalen Turner, he kind of became a win one, lose one fighter. Maybe he strung 2 wins together and then had an immediate loss. But if we look at those losses, they're both kind of valid. Lost to Orabali, got a win against Tim Means, and then lost to Soriano, and now he's on a 3-fight win streak, coming off an insane knockout against Jeff Neal. When we look at those wins, they're all just about 60 seconds. We really haven't seen him tested, and I do think that Daniel Rodriguez will bring some level of a test. Daniel Rodriguez is technically coming off a 3-fight win streak, and that last win was against Kevin Holland. That's a super legit guy to beat, but the issue is I'm not worried about how long he was off. Again, a year isn't that long, but 8 months out of that year was in a Mexican prison, and no matter what he says, there's no shot he was getting legit training. If 8 months out of that year was in a Mexican prison, that's got to count as like a 5-year layoff. If we're looking at the path to victory for both guys, I think Daniel Rodriguez needs to use all 25 minutes of this 5-round fight. And the only reason I say that is because we haven't seen Medić fight past a minute in almost 3 years. For Euros, the path to victory is do exactly what he's been doing the last 3 fights. Go out there, get the finish early, and leave and keep your career going. He can't afford a loss here. He needs to go out there and not only get the win, but get a quick finish. I do think that Medić is a complete lock here. I can't see Daniel Rodriguez spending 8 months in a Mexican prison, coming out and getting a win over someone as dangerous as Medić. I could see Medić finding that first round finish. If you guys haven't already tried out the PrizePicks app, you got to try it. We have a UFC fight night coming up this weekend, and we're making all of our lineups on PrizePicks. What I love about PrizePicks is every player has a set projection, and you could go more than or less than that set projection. The more you choose, the more money you multiply. Now you can choose teams, the spread, and the score of the game. Also, if you play a lineup for $5 and use code DEATHROW, you make $150 in entries just like that. PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, and now New York. Tell me every week and use code DEATHROW. Let's go. The co-main event here, this is another interesting one. Jan Blachowicz and Navajo Sterling. I forgot that Jan Blachowicz is still ranked number 4. He's coming in against Navajo Sterling, who's ranked number 15. Navajo Sterling is coming in as a massive favorite in this fight, and honestly, that kind of stands out to me. If there's one person at light heavyweight that I wouldn't want to fight, it's Jan Blachowicz. I don't care how old he is. I know the Navajo is 28 years old. Jan Blachowicz is 43, but he is just such a powerful dude. Jan is so durable. He could do everything well, right? He could grapple well. He could strike well. He carries a ton of power, and he's so durable. Again, that's the biggest thing that stands out to me in this fight. Against a younger guy, especially a kickboxer who holds a lot of power like Navajo Sterling, you're expecting him to put away the older vet. But you have to remember, it wasn't that long ago. Jan had a split decision with Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira didn't put him away. He really never even hurt him in that fight. And personally, I think Jan won that. That wasn't even that long ago. I know that MMA math doesn't always work, but if you compare 2 kickboxers that Jan went against recently, I don't think this is going to be as easy as a fight as people think. I don't think it matters because of how young Navajo Sterling is, but it is something to say. He is taking this fight on short notice. I think it was 3 weeks. Real quick, I want to pull up Jan Blachowicz's last fights. Jan Blachowicz has the weirdest resume in MMA history. We're looking here, his last fight was a draw against Bogdan Guskov, number 9 light heavyweight in the world. Then he fought Carlos Alberg, who's now the champion at 205, and had a pretty close fight there. I kind of thought he won that fight. It was a unanimous decision, but it's a lot closer than you think if you rewatch it. Before that, he fought Alex Pereira to a split decision. Again, I thought Jan won that fight. And before that, he fought Ankalaev in a draw, who I think Ankalaev is the best light heavyweight in the world. So he's always fighting the best guys in the world, right? Ankalaev, 205. You could argue he's the best 205er in the last 5 years. Alex Pereira, you can argue he's the best light heavyweight in the last 5 years. Carlos Alberg, he's the current champion, and he's having razor close fights with all these guys. So he's right there at the very top of the division. He's just such a hard guy to put away, and I think Navajo is going to have to do that. If we're looking at the path to victory here, for Navajo Sterling, all he has to do is be the younger fighter, show his speed, show his athleticism, stay on the outside, and win those jab exchanges with your speed and athleticism. For Jan, though, there's much more ways he could win this fight. He could stay on the outside and land those heavy leg kicks. He could slow him early. He can make it dirty. He could try to grapple. He could land one of those crazy Polish power shots. I'm so scared to get this one wrong because I do want to go 5 for 5 with you guys. I'm tired of going 4 for 1. But if I had to pick a winner in this fight, despite him being an underdog, despite him being 43 and going against a guy who's 28, I am picking Jan Blachowicz to win this fight. I think he wins a decision. There's just too much value here not to play. Moving right along, though, and moving up to heavyweight, Alexander Rakic is making his debut at heavyweight against Marvin Tybura. This might be the fight that I'm most curious about here. I love it when guys pivot their career late to kind of extend and get a little more longevity. Rakic is coming off 4 consecutive losses at 205. He needed a change. There really wasn't anything for him there anymore. It's an interesting matchup and honestly a perfect first fight for him at heavyweight. He's going to be much more athletic coming in here. I don't know if Tybura can match his speed. This is another one that has a little wide of an age gap, right? Alexander Rakic is about 7 years younger than Marvin. Path to victory for Alexander Rakic is just making this a more athletic fight than he usually does. I think cutting angles and creating angles, forcing Marvin to keep up with his pace. The more moving, the better for Rakic. For Tybura, he really is kind of the Neil Magny of heavyweight. If you beat him, you could kind of have a decent career here. I don't know if he can match that pace or speed. He's just going to be using that heavyweight experience. I don't know if there's a lot of ways for him to win this fight. This might be my lock of the card. We're taking Alexander Rakic to win here. As we move on in this card, it kind of drops off as far as skill. Again, this isn't the most high level. Both guys are 1-4 in their last 4 fights. 2 of those losses are both devastating knockouts for both guys. Robert Valentine might have a few more ways to win just because he's a little less aggressive and might have a little bit higher of a fight IQ. Dusko is super kill or be killed. He's going to go out there and either knock you out or get finished himself. If we're looking at the path to victory for Valentine, I think it's to stay on the outside and to avoid some of that early aggression, pick him apart, and even mix in some grappling into those later rounds if we get there. For Dusko, I think he should just play his game. Go out there, get the crowd on his side, be aggressive, and go after that finish early. If I had to pick a winner here, I'm definitely not confident on either of these guys, but I'm picking Robert Valentine to win. Last fight I want to talk about with you guys, we got another Serbian local, Vlastan Sepe and Gilbert Urbana. We got another aggressive Serbian here. It looks like the UFC is definitely trying to get the crowd pumped up to start the main event. Vlasto is just super sloppy. Similar to Dusko, he's going to try to overwhelm his opponent with pressure and break him early. Gilbert is another guy who's 1-4 in his last 4 fights. He doesn't fight much, and he's coming off a brutal KO against Medić, actually. For Vlasto, I do think he should stick to how he usually fights. He should come out there and try to bully Gilbert early and try to get him to quit. And for Gilbert, I think he should just do his best to stay out of the way of those early punches and try to capitalize in later rounds. So just to recap one more time, we are going 5 for 5 this weekend. We have Medić, we have Jan Blachowicz, we have Rakic, we have Dusko, and we have Vlasto. UFC Serbia, we are cashing in this weekend. Let me know your lock of the card in the comments. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Catch you in the next one.